welcome back to Inside Pass on RaceTalkRadio.com. Mr. Alan Dietz, I'm going to ask you to take over for just a minute between the scratchy throat and trying to get our next guest on the line. I think I've run out of voice. Go ahead and let folks know a little bit about the entry list for this weekend's Southern race while I'm getting our next guest, please.
No doubt about it, and you can find that entry list at ProAllStarSeries.com. And we remind you, fans, and drivers, we want the drivers to get those pre-entries in as early as they can. And a great group of drivers so far that have entered, and we'll take you through that list. Car number 1, which is TBA on the entry list, owned by Dave Moody and Jim Gallison, actually going to be driven by dirt modified specialist Glenn Sullivan. He'll be making his Pass South debut at Southern National in that car. Justin Allison out of Salisbury, North Carolina, in the other car number 1. 48 of John Batten out of Nashville, North Carolina. 7 of Tyler Church out of Hickory, North Carolina. The 129 of Spencer Davis from Dawsonville, Georgia. 05 of Alex Fleming from Raleigh, North Carolina. The 8 of Tate Fogelman from Durham, North Carolina. 09 of Randy Gentry out of Easley, South Carolina. The 5 of Bobby Gore out of Raleigh, North Carolina. 31 of Kyle Grissom, he's from Concord, North Carolina. 30 of Jarek Johnson out of Faribault, Minnesota. That's the second entry for Dave Moody and Jim Gallison. 25 of Ross Kenseth, now living in Mooresville, North Carolina, originally out of Spring Valley, Illinois. He'll be returning to Pass for the first time since his win at South Boston. The 8 of Joseph Marsuli out of Holiday, Florida. 26 of Preston Peltier out of Harrisburg, North Carolina, coming back after an accident at home a couple of months ago. 15 of Tanner Rumberg from Beaver Dam, Virginia. 57 of Cole Timm out of Mooresville, North Carolina. And the 50 of Carl Weber out of Ambia, Indiana. Those are the cars pre-entered for this weekend's Scorcher 150 at Southern National. But definitely some regulars that you didn't hear on that entry list that we expect there. And we've had, I think, 31 at the first race at Southern National and 27 or 28 at the second race. So anticipate another good field of cars there this weekend.
Excellent field of cars. Great to see Moody's group fielding 2 cars this weekend. And, of course, with that famous driver that usually is an ARCA TBA. He's got like 5 rides last week in ARCA. That guy gets around. We need to get TBA on the show one of these days.
Yeah, I don't know how to reach him, though.
There you go. That seems to be an issue. Well, one guy we have no problem reaching is our next guest. Another young gun in the series, and hey, we just heard his name from Mooresville, North Carolina. It's Cole Timm. Cole, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
Cole, okay, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. Drivers are usually their own roughest critics. How would you grade your season up to this point?
We haven't been doing too bad. We started off a little rough. We got in a couple wrecks here early in the season, but we've been hurrying trying to get this car here ready and trying to get it to where we can drive real good. And looks like last time we were at Southern National, it worked out pretty good and ran pretty good. So far, hasn't been too bad. Not bad for our first season though.
Well, I think that's an understatement, Cole. I mean, the run you guys had at Southern National back in June, for the folks that don't know the conditions, it was a Sunday afternoon after the race got rained out on Saturday night. Track temperatures in excess of 100 degrees. And right there with about 5 or 10 laps to go, you were in second place and kind of got shuffled out on that last green, white checker restart and still finished 4th. But some of the radio chatter I heard going on, you and your team felt like if that race would have went green and you didn't have that last caution, maybe you might have had something for Austin Terrio.
Yeah, we were running really good. We were running, I think, like you said, second, and car was really good, especially on the long runs. But we were slowly creeping up on them, and then the last caution came out, and I think that's what hurt us. But yeah, I think if we would have ran those last couple laps green, I don't know if we could have passed him, but we definitely could have gave him a run for his money.
How excited are you to get back on the track in one of these Pass South events? I mean, it's been almost, it feels like it's been forever. It's been about a month and a half since the race at Anderson got rained out, but specifically to get back to Southern National.
You know, it's definitely good knowing that you're going back to the place that you've ran your best at. You know, I'm really excited. Just that track. I mean, it's a fun track. It's got a lot of banking. It's real fast. You know, it's just a real fun track.
Now, I'll ask you the same thing that we asked Tate Fogelman, and I've asked you this before earlier in the year, but, you know, you ran a lot of these racetracks in the Super Limited, which is now the past Pro Late Model division, but how important is it for you to be going back to these racetracks now for a second and third time in the Super Late Model?
You know, it definitely helps out a lot because, you know, you can go to a track earlier in the year and you can miss a setup, and then you can come back later and you can find something that helps you out, and then next time you come back for the third time, it'll help you out even more. So it definitely helps out come back to tracks 2, 3, like you said, times. So it's real fun.
Tell us about your team. I know you obviously are an integral part of it, but your dad, Murray, really and honestly, not a lot of folks that work on this car. I mean, it's a pretty shoestring crew that you guys have got, and you're going out there and running with some of the best in the business.
Yeah, but every night of the week, it's just me and my dad in the shop, and then every now and then we'll get couple guys from my dad's work, or a couple of our buddies will come over and help us. But most of the time, it's just me and my dad working on the car.
How fun is that? I mean, I know growing up, and even still today, to be able to, for me, not racing, but to go fishing with my dad, or to throw the football or anything, I know it's got to be pretty cool for you as a teenager to be able to have the relationship that you have with your dad working on these race cars.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. We have a lot of good times in the shop, just making jokes and stuff. But it's definitely good that me and him are always out in the shop bonding and having a good time. I mean, I'd rather have that than something else, you know.
Now tell us, I know after the race at Southern National back in June, you did a little bit of racing in Canada, and I know it didn't go the way that you wanted it to, but how did that all come about?
Well, our buddy Steve, he came down and ran the Easter Bunny 150 earlier this year, and he came down and ran the limited pro or past super limited race last year, and he always came down and ran with us, and he said he wanted me to come up there and run with him, and he had 2 cars, and he said I want you to come up and drive one of my cars. So we did that, and yeah, we were running real good, and just, you know, ended up, the guy in front of us blew a motor and got all over the racetrack and ended up back in the fence. But we helped him get him fixed. But yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun.
Cole, whenever you make a big step up in the racing business, like you did this year, you kind of have your expectations, and then reality kicks in about middle of the season. Was this harder than you thought it would be, about the same, or easier than you thought?
It's a little bit of both. There's some times where you'll get there and you'll be like, okay, well, this is definitely a lot harder than it was last year. And then there's some places where you'll go and you'll be like, oh, okay, well, this is a little bit easier than I remember from last year. So, I mean, it kind of varies back and forth, but, I mean, all in all, it's awesome.
What has been the toughest part adjusting to? The cars? The different tracks that you might not have run in this kind of car before? Or the talented drivers that you're taking on now?
Well, it's a cross between the cars and the drivers. Like, there's a lot of very talented drivers out there that we're racing with, and it used to be, like when we were in the past pro race, you know, you can go out there and they're starting to build up car count, but when we were racing, there'd be about 10 cars every week, and, you know, you go out there and race, and, you know, sometimes there'd be 2 or 3 cars that could battle out for the win, and then there's other cars that end up just falling back. But now, anywhere you go, there's people that could have ran way in the back for the beginning of the race and get their, they maybe not even go a lap down, maybe go 2 or 3 laps down. They get their last back and come up and they can race for the win. And then the other part is horsepower. I mean, these past Super late models, they have, compared to the Pro late models, I mean, they got, I think, 200 more horsepower or something. So just figuring that all out and making sure you can save your tires and brakes and all that stuff that's definitely probably one of the most challenging parts.
Before we let you go, young man, want to give you a chance to thank those people behind the scenes and also any of the marketing partners that have helped out this year.
Yeah, I got to thank Triad Racing Technologies, my mom, my dad, everyone that helped out. Just everyone that's helped me get this far and helped make this possible. It's been real fun.
Cole Timm, another one of the rising stars, and you're going to hear much more about him in the years to come. Cole, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Inside Pass.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, Alan, these youngsters, they really are smooth on the track, but also on the interviews.
No doubt about it. Now, Cole, you may hear about sooner than later, because I tell you, as well as they ran at Southern National back in June and didn't look into it, kind of had a decent starting position, but had to work his way up to the front. And, as well as Austin Terrio was ran this year in those Brad Keselowski 29s, when you've got a guy that's right in his tire tracks coming down with 5 laps to go, that ought to give you an indication of how well he's running. I fully believe that they'll be right there in contention in the top 5 if everything goes their way this weekend at Southern National in the Scorcher.
Yeah, when you can hold your own with a guy that not only has a ton of talent, but also has a lot more experience than you do, and you hold your own like that, that is a great sign of things to come. Well, folks, time to take our final break of the evening.